Tonight,
it starts in Iowa.
1 week till the Iowa caucuses.
This election is our last chance to save America. The battle begins in Iowa on January 15th.
The final push for GOP candidates to win over Iowa voters. Plus, Congress reaches a deal to avert a government shutdown. We have the details of what that deal includes. And
so this is our request from our government, from our army. Please make us safe.
Why tens of thousands were forced to flee in northern Israel, and how many are calling on their government to help get them home. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. The official kickoff to election 2024 now just 1 week away. Good evening in Washington. I'm Jenna Browder. The Iowa caucus is next Monday. Former President Trump is the faraway frontrunner among the GOP candidates. Even so, the others are using this week to hit the ground running, making the case for why they should be the next president. CBN's Matt Galka has been in Iowa talking with White House hopefuls on the campaign trail and has tonight's top story.
So if you want to save America from crooked Joe Biden, then get every patriot you know, make sure they're registered Republicans, and get them out to vote in their local precinct caucus at 7 p.m.
Although President Trump dominates in the polling, he's not taking any chances in Iowa, telling supporters in Mason City to make sure to vote. Polls have shown Trump up by 30 points as he's still holding rallies across the state. Iowans set the pace each presidential election cycle with their caucus. The results can have the ability to sink or propel a campaign.
I'm the only one running for president that has a record of delivering.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis continued his march across the state over the weekend, ramping up direct attacks against the frontrunner.
Broken promises from Donald Trump, and particularly this birthright citizenship issue that was asked about me. You know, he promised to do that in 2016, sign an executive order. Literally just write your John Hancock on an order. Never did it in 4 years.
DeSantis and former UN ambassador and South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley are locked in a tight race for second. Haley is casting doubt on Trump's electability. We caught up with her at an event for young voters in Des Moines.
We're getting there and we're gaining on him, and I think you can tell. I mean, I think he's, Trump started to throw temper tantrums. He's starting to spend millions of dollars on TV against us. Every bit of it's a lie. But if you got a lie to win, you don't deserve to win. We're going to do it the right way. We're going to keep on talking about where we need to go, and it's time for a new generational leader.
While both DeSantis and Haley try to paint themselves as the Trump alternative, tech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy fully embraces a Trump 2.0 approach.
You require and deserve a president who'll do the hard things, not just build the wall, but use the military to seal the border.
He tells voters around the state that he has the ability to finish the MAGA agenda Trump started.
I think they're selling us the rope today that they will use to hang us tomorrow. And the reality is, this system will stop at nothing. They've made that clear, and I mean nothing, to keep this man away from the White House. They want to narrow this down to be a two-horse race between Donald Trump and some other puppet they can control. Take him out and put that puppet in, whether that's Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama or Nikki Haley. I think increasingly it looks like it's Nikki Haley. That is a trap we cannot fall into. And so you got the future of America First standing right here.
Voters around the Hawkeye State are typically all ears, and we're not talking about Iowa corn. Many we encountered are undecided as we get into the home stretch. Ron Klein is backing Trump while also liking what he hears from Ramaswamy.
I find Vivek a very interesting, intelligent, articulate candidate. He's somebody, in the absence of Trump, I'd vote for.
Outside of a dueling Haley-DeSantis town hall event, Joseph Howe is looking at Haley as the Trump alternative.
The chaos that comes with President Trump. And I believe that it's very important to preserve our republic above all other issues.
Meanwhile, Bill Siefkas is all in on DeSantis and not the former president.
You look at all the issues that's got going on with him right now. Even if he does get elected, he's going to be distracted for his first year in office fighting all these legal battles. How do you run a country when you're fighting legal battles? His attention's going to be there and not on the country where it needs to be.
While the candidates trailing Trump in the polls all try to differentiate themselves, one thing they have in common is this. They're all telling voters the polls won't decide the Iowa caucus. They will. In Des Moines, Iowa, Matt Galka, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Matt. And for more, let's bring in Nathan Gonzalez, editor and publisher of Inside Elections and a Faith Nation contributor. Nathan, welcome. Happy New Year. So as Matt reported, Trump is not taking any chances in the Hawkeye State. He's hitting the ground hard in Iowa, along with all of the other Republican presidential candidates. Do you think Trump is worried, Nathan?
Well, he should take it seriously. I mean, he's finally hitting the ground in Iowa. He's actually been fairly absent in Iowa. Just last week, there was an event hosted by one of his sons, Eric Trump, where Trump literally phoned it in. That Eric called him, got him on the phone. He held the phone up to a microphone for a couple minutes, but he's taking it seriously because I think he realized that in the end, I mean, this is if he thinks that he is inevitably going to be the nominee, this is the beginning of that inevitable process. And so he needs to win in Iowa to maintain that status.
With Trump so far ahead in the polls, Nathan, the fight among the others really seems to be for second place. Could a second place finish in Iowa be enough to propel a candidate like Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis?
Well, the expectations are different for Haley and DeSantis. If Nikki Haley finishes second, that will propel her into New Hampshire, where she's polling much closer to Trump than she is in Iowa. If Nikki Haley finishes third, I think she still continues on to New Hampshire because she still has that sense of momentum. But the expectations are different for DeSantis, who has gone all in on Iowa. If he finishes third behind Haley, there is going to be a lot of pressure on DeSantis to get out. If he finishes second, I think he continues on, but he is polling third or fourth in New Hampshire, and it's just going to be, I think, rougher sledding for him moving further into the calendar.
Yeah, one of the voters Matt talked to, he called the former president's legal battles a distraction. Do you think Trump's legal woes are a serious consideration, Nathan, for Republican voters?
Not a majority of Republican voters. I think if it were a concern for a majority of voters, that he would be doing worse than he is right now overall in the race. Some of that feedback that Matt got felt like a lot of what Nikki Haley is talking about with the chaos, and that resonates with a fraction of the electorate, but so far it hasn't been enough. And I think it's important to point out that even if the field consolidates and some people drop out after Iowa, that doesn't mean that Trump is in worse shape. For example, if DeSantis gets out, some of DeSantis supporters Trump is their second choice. Or if Ramaswamy drops out, you heard in Matt's package, there are some who Trump is probably their second choice to Vivek. So it's not as clean as just getting it down to a one-on-one battle and then Trump loses. It's more complicated than that.
Right. So President Biden, he was on the campaign trail today at Mother Emanuel African American Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston. South Carolina, of course, was pivotal in his securing the 2020 nomination. Nathan, what did you make of his speech today?
I think that this is just the beginning of him taking starting to ramp up the campaign, ramp up the reelection process, and remind voters that this is a choice between two candidates. Because if it's simply a referendum on President Biden's job performance, that is not going to go well. But he is, framing this in part as a choice between someone who's more stable and chaos, and that is something that a message we're gonna see for the next 10 months.
All right, yeah, here we go. Nathan Gonzalez of Inside Elections. Thank you, Nathan. Great to see you.
Good to see you, Jenna.
Well, lawmakers are demanding accountability after the Pentagon failed to notify Congress and the White House that Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was hospitalized. Austin underwent an elective medical procedure in December, but last week severe pain put him back in the hospital. He had been in intensive care for 3 days before the White House was told of the situation. Although Austin has apologized, lawmakers on both sides say the Pentagon's failure to disclose the health of a high-ranking official within the chain of command reflects a stunning lack of transparency.
The National Security Council didn't know it. The White House didn't know it. Congress didn't know it. We're at a time of a lot of turmoil internationally, and to suddenly have the Secretary of Defense, more than just a matter of wasn't there, actually sent over false information saying I'm working from home when he's not actually available at all. That's a whole different issue.
The White House says President Biden is not considering firing Austin. The secretary has resumed his full duties. On Capitol Hill, congressional leaders have announced an agreement on overall spending levels for 2024. But will it be enough to prevent a government shutdown later this month? Washington correspondent Caitlin Berg joins us now for that story. Caitlin, what does this deal include?
Jenna, the top-line spending numbers agreed to by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson include around $1.7 trillion for the remainder of the year. $886 billion of that would go to defense spending and nearly $773 billion to non-defense spending. Schumer called it a good deal for Democrats in the country. And in a letter to House Republicans, Speaker Johnson pointed out that the agreement is $30 billion less than other funding bills drafted by Senate lawmakers, something he also stressed over the weekend on CBS Face the Nation.
The Congress has a responsibility. We have the power of the purse, of course, and we have to be good stewards of precious taxpayer resources. We cannot continue to borrow money to spend it. And so reducing non-defense discretionary spending must be a priority of Congress, and we're trying to insist upon that in these negotiations.
In terms of that continuous borrowing the Speaker mentioned, just last week the national debt set a new record, passing $34 trillion for the first time. Jenna?
Caitlin, if Johnson and Schumer have an agreement, why are we still at risk of a government shutdown this month?
Well, that high-level deal definitely reduces the chances of a shutdown, but Congress still has to actually pass all the individual spending bills. And fiscal conservatives believe more spending cuts can be made. Like I mentioned, U.S. debt is now above $34 trillion, and the Congressional Budget Office estimates that number will hit $50 trillion by 2033. In terms of deadlines, 4 spending bills must be passed by January 19th and another 8 by February 2nd. If lawmakers fail to pass all 12 by those deadlines, across-the-board cuts will be triggered on both domestic and defense programs.
One of the funding bills in limbo is the emergency aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Republicans have said they won't consider it until it includes strict new immigration policies. Caitlin, what's the latest there?
Well, their stance is still the same. Last week, dozens of House Republicans visited the southern border with Speaker Johnson. He called the situation there a humanitarian catastrophe and said he believes it's policy changes more than funding that will turn things around.
The president has the existing authority under federal law to stem the flow here. I mean, if you reinstituted the Remain in Mexico policy, for example, it was estimated by the people who are in charge here that would stem the flow by maybe 70%. I mean, that's a simple measure, an executive order that the White House could undertake.
In a statement Sunday, President Biden said Republicans must do their job, stop threatening to shut down the government, and fulfill their basic responsibility to fund critical domestic and national security priorities. Jenna?
All right, Caitlin, thank you very much. Well, 80,000 forced to flee terror attacks in Israel, and it's not because of Hamas. That story next on Faith Nation. Welcome back. The killing of a top Hezbollah leader in Lebanon is fueling fears of the Israel-Hamas war spreading in the Middle East. Lebanese officials say the senior terror commander was killed in an Israeli airstrike in the southern part of the country. It comes after a weekend of rocket attacks on Israel by Hezbollah for an earlier slaying of a top Hamas official in Beirut. The latest flare-up comes during a high-stakes visit to the region by Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Speaking in Qatar, Blinken warned that the conflict could, quote, easily metastasize and cause more insecurity and conflict in the region.
From day one, among other priorities, we have been intensely focused on working to prevent the conflict from spreading. And that is indeed a major focus of what is now my 4th visit to the region since October 7th.
Blinken's goal during a visit in Israel has been to ensure a full-blown war doesn't erupt between Israel and Hamas. The war in Gaza is now in its 4th month and is entering a new, less intensive phase. The Hamas terror group still holds an estimated 100 hostages captive. In the months since the October Hamas attack, 80,000 Israelis have had to flee Hezbollah rocket attacks along the northern border. And as Chuck Holton reports from Jerusalem, many are wondering when they will be able to go home again.
Ifta sits only 2 kilometers from the Lebanese border, and its people have been living in hotels since early October. It appears they may not return home anytime soon.
I think the less safe I feel is right here on the road. But I have faith
When I was alone with the kids, the room was fine, and I wanted my kids to be close to me because they were frightened and they had anxieties before they go to sleep, and they asking about Dad. But now when he came back and we are in this little room, and it's very crowded and it's very small, and we're trying to be thankful with the things we have. We have each other.
The close proximity of Yifta to the Lebanese border, however, adds to the sense of fear about going home. With the escalating conflict, these residents are pressuring the Israeli government to do whatever it must to allow them to reclaim their lives.
We are much closer to the border than most of the kibbutzim in the Gaza Strip. It's scary, I must say. And we need to be sure that we're safe in order to come and live here again in our homes. So this is our request from our government, from our army. Please make us safe.
The day-to-day uncertainty takes a toll. Ongoing missile attacks from Hezbollah, despite Israel's commitment to wipe out the threat, leaves many here feeling powerless.
Like every day I was crying. I'm trying to think, like every time I feel like I don't have enough perspective to see the whole picture, because I lived day by day, not even day by day, and hour by hour, because I don't know. Every morning I wake up and I'm not sure how things are going to go in the country with the war, and I feel like I have no control on life.
Hezbollah commander Hassan Nasrallah gave a speech the day after the attack on Beirut, saying that it was a crime that would not go unpunished. Meanwhile, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari of the IDF says that his troops are prepared for any scenario. That kind of talk adds up to the likelihood of an extended displacement, as the hope for a secure return home remains tied to the IDF's ability to remove Hezbollah from southern Lebanon. These folks realize that may be out of reach without an extended ground invasion.
This will take a very long time. That's what everybody keeps saying to us. That's what the messages that we're receiving is that this will take months until we have to just wait and hope that the war with Hezbollah will create some kind of safety net for us to be able to return home, because without that, we will not be returning to our home in Yiftach.
Chuck Holton, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thank you, Chuck. Well, changing culture through Christian entertainment. How one film company is hoping to do just that. That story and more, just 2 minutes away. It was a big night in Hollywood as stars turned out Sunday for the Golden Globe Awards. Oppenheimer took home the top honor of Best Motion Picture Drama. The film documenting the creation of the atomic bomb also won 4 other Globes. A new award this year was for Cinematic or Box Office Achievement. It's essentially a prize for biggest big screen hit. That went to Barbie. Faith-based family films aren't always easy to access, but a Christian company that's based in West Virginia is trying to change that, and it's doing so by making its movies in a unique way. Wendy Griffith explains.
3, 2, 1. JC Films in Bridgeport, West Virginia is going on 13 years and already has more than 80 feature films to its name. President Jason Campbell explains the mission.
We have 2 purposes, basically. One is to make films that change the culture for Christ. And number 2 is, how do we get more people involved, people of faith involved in Christian filmmaking?
Actor Dean Cain, a Christian conservative famous for his role as Superman, has starred in 30 JC Films movies.
Is it my daughter? No, let me look. Just let me look. I love what Jason's doing with JC Films. I think it's fantastic.
In a recent role, Cain plays a small-town mayor in Hank's Christmas Wish and just wrapped shooting the sequel in West Virginia. He says for him, it's all about the storytelling.
I don't care how many buildings you blow up or how many people are flying across the screen. The effects are great, but that stuff doesn't. If you don't care about the characters, it just doesn't matter.
JC Films made more than 20 films in 2023 and 25 the year before. Campbell credits a unique concept. 24 film or production clubs across the country plus more outside the U.S.
And these are people of faith that get together in their churches and their communities, and they make Christian content.
Jason, who can participate?
We see a lot of moms and dads and grandparents that say, my kid has the acting bug. They can either go out into the world, they can move to Hollywood, but sometimes that's not such a safe place. So what we tried to create through JC Films is a community where moms and dads and grandparents can feel safe about their kids being involved in Christian content.
Campbell says older actors are also coming forward.
People my age and your age that, back in high school and college, we studied theater or we did a few plays. We were in the high school play back in the day. And then life took over. And now that our kids are gone, we're like, hey, I still have the acting bug, or hey, I'm still interested in being creative. But I'm interested in being creative to advance the kingdom of God.
Kane recently attended a WVU home game to cheer on the Mountaineers and says he's falling in love with West Virginia. Making movies with Campbell also reminds him of how he grew up with his filmmaking father.
I held the boom. I was the kid in the thing. I was over here. I was getting coffee. I did whatever he needed to have done. And that's kind of what filmmaking is all about at its core.
You know, the idea that we can use Christian films to advance the gospel is real here at JC Films.
Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
Very cool. Thank you, Wendy. And JC Films streams Christian movies and more. You can find a link to watch them on cbnnews.com. Still ahead, the first lunar mission in decades. Stick around. Finally tonight, in another giant leap for mankind, the first moon mission in over 5 decades blasted off from Cape Canaveral today. A new American rocket called the Vulcan launched early this morning, making the first lunar launch from the U.S. since NASA's 1972 final Apollo mission. The private space company called United Launch Alliance created the rocket, hoping to kickstart the commercial space tourism industry. On board, deliveries for NASA and the ashes of 70 prominent people, including cast members from the iconic science fiction series Star Trek. Since taking off this morning, Vulcan scientists have noted a few problems with the ship, but if it all sorts out, the lander could reach the moon as soon as February 23rd. And that's going to do it for Faith Nation this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night, and we'll see you right back here again tomorrow. Take care.